Welcome back to Dow Twine. I'm Dave. I'm going to jump right in here. I've got a backing track. This is kind of a raucous version of this tune. You'll recognize it. But it's, certainly not a cover version of it. I just kind of banged out the chords to it. And I was a friend and also a student that I work with each week down in Florida. I'm in Missouri, so it's kind of cool. I got people all over the country and different continents too, actually. But he was messing around with this song, and so I kind of got on it and made a loop, and I said, "Man, I just love this." And I used to jam on it a long time ago, and so we're not covering it, but I just made a real quick loop of it with some drums and bass, and I'll put that down below for you all to jam with. And we're just going to use it as this kind of example of how we can take a vocal melody from a popular song. We've done this before. We did it with After Midnight. We've done it with Feeling All Right, which is actually by the same band that this one's by. So I guess they have great vocal melodies. Here it is. There's the little signature lick that lets you know exactly what song it is, because this progression's in tons of classic songs, right? Okay. Now, on the record, it's a cleaner sound, and it's more of, something like that. So, but sometimes I like to just play a strum version for my loops, because it's just, I'm gonna play a lot of single note stuff, whatever. It's just more of a texture, to it. So that'll be our backing track. Now, people ask me all week long, all the time, where do I get the melody ideas? I like what you're doing, but it's like I'm kind of, I'm almost trying to copy some of the demos that you're doing on Dow of Twang, because it's just like I need something to just get a motif started or something with the melody. And, that's really, for many of us, when we have a pretty good knowledge and pretty good working, version of these scales, pentatonic, mixolydian, the Dorian scale or something, you're getting a nice, a foundational, understanding and practice of those basic scales, right? So, at the same time, or once you have possess some command over those, right? You know where they are. And then, the next thing that I hear a lot of people asking about is like, well, how do I make it more musical? I got the notes. I know that I can play this over this progression, right? I know I can play both pentatonics over this Dear Mr. Fantasy thing, and probably mixolydian, just because I just know that it has that configuration of chords and progression. So what do I do with that stuff? Well, if it's a well-known song, okay, one that you're familiar with, that one that you can, reference by just jumping on, the internet and listening to it instantly, you may even be so familiar with it you don't even have to listen to it. I didn't really research this. I just, kind of threw down the chords and started doing my thing. But what I started with was like seeking out the vocal melody. So just to get us started, Steve Winwood's a blues singer. A lot of his vocal lines are the minor pentatonic scale. Okay, so there's a good clue to get you started on this. Let's try that out. Still got to fish around for the notes. again. Man, this is a great song. And I mean, there's a lot of great songs, right? This song, I mean, for me, that melody, it just, the way it fits in your hand, it's amazing that this is a vocal melody, but it's also like just the sweetest parts of the bends of that main position of minor pentatonic. Feeling All Right's the same way when we worked on that one time, right? So, this guy just embraces that simple blues scale in his singing, and he's so relaxed. It's so natural for him. It really gives you the feeling of just like, you know, taking that original impression that he got from blues, and then that's it, you know. And they do some nice rhythmic, they've got like, a lot of skilled musicians in that band, and they do a lot of transitions with the drums and things or whatever. But every time that vocal comes back in, it's just sweetness. It's almost just perfect. And it's the way that it's, you know, nestled into those chords, right? So, Mixolydian. Now, okay, well, if it's pentatonic and Steve Winwood's, that's all he needs. Why do we need to like overthink it and start talking about modes or whatever? Great question, because the short answer is you don't. You don't need to, right? But if you want to use a song like this to practice skills that go a little bit beyond just kind of sounding like the song, right, into your own style of jamming. That's what I do with all material that I use, right? I try to get something about the essence of the song, into a routine, and then I do my own thing, right? That's kind of what Tao twang is all about. So here's an example. If I play some Mixolydian sequences of notes, but I'll try to kind of use the same timing and shaping of the vocal melody. Check this out. This is going to take some work, for most folks if you're not used to this. You really got to open your mind here. Don't let your brain fall out. That's what my dad used to say. It was too late, actually. Here we go. Okay, so instead of doing a bunch of little demonstrations and dividing this all up with a lot of talk in between, that section right there can maybe kind of be where you want to kind of go back and watch that a couple times. And, that's all stream of consciousness. That's not, I didn't know anything that was going to happen there except the initial following of the vocal line. So take the time to work that out in your own way, and you'll just see that I'm not hitting every note of that vocal line, the lyrics, but melody, but I'm bending and I'm starting to put in, kind of subbing in like little moves to get to that note that is the real, stars of the constellation of the vocal line, right? And what happens is then when I moved over to Mixolydian, I'm playing, notes that aren't in the pentatonic, and obviously I'm adding those in there, and I'm playing a lot of half step, sequences, but I'm using that same kind of feeling of the timing, right? And what happens is I'm naturally being pulled back to some of those notes in that constellation at the right times, all right? This is going to take work, but it's fun work. This isn't work in your head. This is work like letting your hand, just let your hand move. Get in a position and say, I've got the Mixolydian, right here. Okay, so that's kind of around that D major looking, so which is A Mixolydian, right? All right, then come out of that vocal line. Okay, then I put some major pentatonic stuff in there too, right? And I kind of like that on the last A, like I mentioned before, after the A, G, D, A, and just using that to kind of climb back up to the minor pentatonic. But also blues licks, right? I don't want to overcomplicate this because the what this was really about today was going and using that 7-note scale, but using the same impression of the vocal line that was originally coming from the pentatonic, right? You're going to hit some weird notes and stuff. I just did when I was doing that, right? I started to think about it and look at it, and the track wasn't on, so it wasn't as musical. I wasn't as connected to it, right? But that's good. You can still do that work off to the side, right? And you can also I'll close it out with this, then I'll get you to the backing track. You can also just do some really nice stuff by just moving simply from minor to major pentatonic, but again, keeping that motif of the rhythm and the implied melody. Something like this. Okay, did some minor pentatonic, moved it right down here, three half steps down, 3 frets down. Did some major stuff. Did the same thing up here. Did a little of that. Just working it right between those two little shapes. The shapes look the same, but the orientation is different to the key, right? And then I put a little, Mixolydian stuff in there because I'd already kind of warmed up my hand to, know where a couple of those positions were. And hopefully maintained that continuity, that musical language, that the personality of the song, right? And after a while, it'll just become your song. It won't sound like Mr. Fantasy anymore, but it will take on a motifs and a shaping and a landscape of your own feeling, right? This will all happen, I promise you. It won't happen all at once, okay? So the stuff that we're going to be doing the rest of the year here is we're going to be really nurturing that process, okay? And so it's not going to be a whole lot of like crazy rules about what you have to do about scales and chords and so on. It's going to be more about like how to jam, all right? Hope you enjoy this. I hope I'm on the right path with a lot of the feedback that I'm getting from you all. Appreciate you always. Have a great week. I'll see you next time.